In a city where love was a whisper and religion roared like thunder, two hearts dared to meet, and paid the price.
They say there is love beyond religion. They say there is love above all things. And love is the greatest. Love conquers all.
The afternoon heat sat heavy on Ojuelegba like it had nowhere else to be. Conductors yelled routes. Traffic hissed. A danfo rolled through a puddle and baptized a white shirt with brown water. The girl wearing it froze, hand at the hem, eyes wide, the kind of quiet sigh you don't hear but you feel. A voice behind her, calm and certain. I've got a handkerchief. Clean. I swear. She turned. Tall. Clear eyes. A face that looked like kindness learned its way before cleverness did. He held the folded square like a peace offering. Thank you, she said. Daniel, he replied, easy. She nodded once. I'm Zainab. They stood close because Lagos forces it. She watched him watch her and didn't mind. Bad day? He asked. It's just a shirt, she said. And Lagos. He smiled. I was headed to Yaba. Tech store on Bode Thomas first. I can help you find a Kiki going your way. Surelier, she said. Market, then home. Neighbors then, he said, like that solved something. If Nipa behaves. When the Kiki came, she climbed in and lifted the handkerchief. I'll wash it. And bring it back, he said. How will I find you? Bode Thomas, he said. Shop next to the church. I'm either praying or fixing somebody's phone. The Kiki rattled off. She looked back once, twice. He was still there, a quiet shape in a noisy city, and something in her knew this wasn't going to be a small story. That night Surelier hummed like it always does when the power cuts and generators argue with the dark. In her room, a blue rechargeable lamp painted soft light on the wall. She pressed the handkerchief to her cheek and caught herself. She didn't do things like that. She was the Imam's daughter. Steady. Careful. Anchored. But 25 is 25, and hearts don't submit forms for approval. Her father's voice floated from the sitting room, low, even, reciting, comforting a neighbor who'd brought a restless child. He did that a lot. Read over water. Pray for the haunted. Hold jittery hands until they steadied. People trusted him with their trouble. The city pushed its ache through his door and expected it to leave cleaner than it came. Her mother set a plate by the door and called her name. Warm voice. Food and blessing woven together. 2 days later she walked into the blue-lit tech store on Bode Thomas with the handkerchief washed, ironed, and wrapped like a treasure. Daniel stood behind a counter, sleeves rolled, focused on a customer. He looked up and that same quiet ease returned to his face. You came back, he said. You gave me something, she said. I'm returning it. Borrow my umbrella next, he said. You'll have to return that too. A woman at the corner desk laughed. So she's the handkerchief girl, she said. Thank God. I was tired of hearing the epic puddle saga. My sister, Daniel said. Ada. Don't mind him, Ada told her. He makes poetry out of brake lights. Sit. Let me get you a drink. They talked. Some conversations feel like building a small raft together, quick knots, sure hands. He listened the way people listen when they care before they decide. She spoke the way people speak when truth feels welcome. When the shop closed, he walked her out. The street was amber and chrome. Headlamps stitched a living thread. Church on Sunday, he said, almost shy. You could come. If you want. She held his eyes. Steady. Kind. I could. If you'll come to Jumu'ah with me Friday. Not as a tourist. Just to see my world. He paused, not from fear, from respect. I will. So it began. Not with rebellion. With exchange. Friday he stood outside the mosque beside her, shoes off, shoulders squared, heart curious. Glances came. Some puzzled. Some warm. After prayers they sat under a neem tree and split puff straight from the nylon, fingers dusted in sugar. They talked about faith like it was a language. Each with its verbs for love. Sundays she sat beside him in a small church with fans that clicked and a keyboard that tried. Voices rose like people were telling the roof a secret. He closed his eyes and she watched his face unarmed. After service he introduced her to friends like a decision already settled. A woman with tired hands and soft eyes walked up to them. So this is the girl, the woman said, half smile hiding 100 questions. Mum, Daniel said, a warning wrapped in pride. This is Zainab. Welcome, she said. I'm glad you came. The smile was real. But something hovered behind it. Not malice. Wait. Daniel hoped his father would handle better than smiles could. He was wrong. They waited till evening to tell Pastor Chris. Sundays were long. People brought him their storms and expected him to be dry for them. When he settled, they entered the sitting room. He had the face of a man who knows the room is looking at him even when it isn't. Sir, she said, respectful. My name is. I am Zainab. He asked the questions, name, family, school, work. The last question waited behind the polite ones. Your faith. I am Muslim, sir. The pause wasn't long in time. It was long in meaning. His gentleness hardened into caution. He didn't raise his voice, a title did it for him. And you too are. We're getting to know each other, Daniel said. I want you to know her as a person. Not a rumor. There are many Christian girls, Pastor Chris said, still soft. Still a wall. There are many Muslim boys, Daniel said. But I met her. Let us pray on it, she said. No rush. Pastor Chris nodded. They felt it as they said goodnight. Her turn came the following evening. The mosque compound was a small village at dusk. Motorcycles lined like commas, boys chasing dust, old men editing politics in the corner. The Imam finished with a man who'd brought a fever and turned to his daughter, lines on his face warming. Baba, she said when they were alone. There is someone. He listened without interruption. That was his power. She told the puddle story and the tech store and the puff and the singing room with clicking fans and how a quiet boy had made her voice sound like a new place. His faith? The Imam asked. Christian. And his family? His father is a pastor. He tasted the air for rain. Bring him, he said finally. Let me see the boy whose name rearranges your breath. Daniel came with careful shoes, a small fruit basket, respect stitched into his gestures. They sat on low chairs and talked. What do you believe? The Imam asked, level. I believe in God, Daniel said. That he hears. That he is one. That he calls us to love, not wage wars he didn't ask us to fight. And my daughter? The Imam asked. I want to honor her, Daniel said. To grow with her. To keep peace with both our homes. The Imam saw sincerity and youth and the kind of bravery that doesn't brag. He also knew society's teeth. Life isn't only two people, he said. It is families and names and the mouths that use those names. If we walk slowly. With patience. With clear heads. Knowing some will try to turn us back. Not a yes. Not a no. A door left ajar. Love grew like Lagos was secretly rooting for them. Study sessions near Unilag with AC that lied. Rides across Third Mainland whispering about futures no one else had authorized. Tarkwa Bay with friends and salt on their wrists. Tejuosho lanes and the Lagos way of holding hands without holding hands. Where faith sits when the house is quiet. They got better at apology. Better at listening. When they prayed in their different ways at night, their words began to sound like cousins. Then the world pressed back. Pastor Chris called for a talk. He set his Bible down like a gavel he hadn't struck yet. He didn't shout. He pressed order into the places where his son held feeling. "You're my son," he said. "I taught you the path. Why step off it now?" "I'm not stepping off," Daniel said. "I'm walking beside someone whose path touches mine." Beside is not the same as same. "Mum likes her," Daniel said, reaching for a bridge. "Your mother likes the whole world," he said, "love and iron mixing. Marriage is a seed. Seeds grow houses, children, communities. The world is not gentle when you pull in two directions." "We'll do the work," Daniel said. "We'll respect both families. And worship. We won't make it a war. Over my dead body will I bless a union that divides the house of God," Pastor Chris said quietly. Quiet landed harder than thunder. "End it." Daniel's throat burned. He looked at the man who taught him to be steady and saw a door close. He didn't argue. He carried the sentence away like weight. His mother found him later on the veranda, sitting with dusk pooled around his feet. "Is love enough?" he asked. "It never is," she said. "But it's the only reason to try." Across town, the Imam called his daughter. No Quran on the table. Just a father, a daughter, an heir that knew how to listen. "People are talking," he said. "Gentle today. Sharper tomorrow. Are you sure?" "I am," she said. "Not because it's easy. Because it's true. Truth that costs nothing is rarely worth anything. We'll walk. Slowly. We'll stand. Strong. The wind is coming." Then a cousin with a busy mouth saw them in Suralere and chewed the story with spice. By Sunday the pulpit grew a shadow. "We must not be unequally yoked," Pastor Chris preached, voice sure. "The enemy comes polite. With flowers. With understanding. But the path is narrow. Feelings can't widen it." Daniel sat second row, hands clenched till the blood changed color. After service, he skipped home and walked to the bridge, watching water that didn't care who was right. That night he called her. He didn't know what to say. "Are we losing?" "Not tonight," she said. "Tomorrow we eat suya." They met under a single dangling bulb where meat hissed and pepper made the night honest. They laughed harder than they thought they could. Love is stubborn. "Marry me," he blurted, laugh still in his mouth, tears not far. "I want that more than anything," she said. "But I won't build a life out of hiding. We need peace. Or at least a ceasefire. Let's stand. Let's not run." He nodded. Brave didn't feel like noise. Brave felt like choosing the harder road and staying clean. He still wrestled in the dark. Not dramatic. Real. He loved God. He liked order and clear lines. He also loved this woman with a steady center and a mind that asked honest questions. On his desk at night, he placed his Bible on one side and their photo booth strip on the other. He would put the photo on the Bible, then put the Bible on the photo, then place both side by side and pray for a way that didn't require tearing himself in half. She wrestled too. Knees on her father's mat, forehead pressed to woven thread, she asked to remain one person, not a split of obedience and love. She loved the call to prayer in the gray of morning. She loved being her father's daughter. She loved being Daniel's chosen person. She asked God to hold what she could not. The night Pastor Chris said, "If you continue, do it without me," Daniel did something he'd never done. He left. He drove till the city thinned and salt began to speak. He parked at a rough stretch of beach and let the sea talk. The plan formed in fragments. He would keep showing up. He would keep coming home to sleep even if the air between him and his father turned to glass. He would not bend for the sake of bending. He would not fight for the sake of fighting. He would stand. He came home late. He could feel his father's presence in the sitting room. He could also feel his mother's watchfulness, the way she held a house together without making a sound. He walked in. Pastor Chris didn't look up. Daniel stood in the doorway. "I'm sleeping here," he said, level. "This isn't your house if you keep walking where I cannot go," Pastor Chris said, the sentence already used up. He didn't stand. He didn't repeat himself. He let the line lie. Daniel put his bag down anyway. He went to his room. He lay on the bed that still held the shape of his growing years and stared at the ceiling that had watched him learn his memory verses and practice keyboard and imagine love before he had a face for it. He slept badly. A week later Daniel asked for something bold. "Call Elder Samuel," he told his mother. "Please." Elder Samuel came with that slow smile and those eyes that make truth feel safe. "I'm not here to cut your authority," Elder Samuel told Pastor Chris. "I'm here so we don't sacrifice a person to protect a position." Pastor Chris folded his hands. "Speak." Elder Samuel spoke about God in words that didn't need to win an argument. "When trouble holds our throat, we say God. We don't say, the Christian God or the Muslim God. We say God. He hears. He has always heard. Your son isn't trying to sin. He's trying to love without lying. Christianity is the way," Pastor Chris said. "Not a way. The way." Elder Samuel nodded. "I know those verses. I preach them. I'm asking if obedience requires cruelty here." "It requires clarity," Pastor Chris said. "If he continues, he does it without me." After Elder Samuel left, the room felt decided. Daniel drove to the sea again and let Salt argue with fear. He came home late and slept in his own bed like a protest that didn't insult anyone. One humid evening in Suralere the sky stalled over roofs and the air tasted like hot iron. They walked past shuttered shops, fingers not touching, closeness wrapped in wisdom. They were making plans that tried to honor two houses. Who hosts what? How to handle holidays. How to handle a future that wouldn't smile for a photograph yet. Daniel rubbed his head once. "Headache," he said. "Small." She paused. "Water?" "I'll be fine," he said, that casual lie people tell when they love their families and don't want to start a new argument. They reached his car. He leaned on the door and let the world tilt then right itself. He smiled to make it lighter. "You know I still owe you a clean white shirt," he said. She smiled back and tucked the worry away. They planned suya for the weekend. Tarkwa Bay when the tide was kind. A visit to her parents on Tuesday. He promised to bring fruit and the same quiet he brought the first time. He dropped her at the gate and watched till the light caught her face and made it soft. She waved. He waved. He drove off. The road home looked longer. He rubbed his head again and felt something behind the eyes pulse wrong. He turned the radio down. He prayed a short prayer that didn't try to change heaven, only ask for the breath to be easy. The pain held steady. He parked, sat for a while, then went inside. He went to his room and lay on the bed and tried to think of nothing. He closed his eyes and searched for the sea's sound in his mind. It came. It always came. Then the wave inside his chest rose a little. He breathed through it. He told himself he was fine. He wasn't the kind to make a fuss. He would drink water in the morning and laugh about it. That night the second wave did not ask for permission. It tightened across his chest, sharp and bright, and made the room tilt. He sat up and reached for the glass on his bedside table. His hand missed it. The glass hit the floor and rolled under the chair. He tried to stand. His knees forgot how to agree. A sound left his throat that woke his mother before he could call her name. She was at the door in seconds, switching on the light, saying his name the way you say a word you don't want to lose. He tried to answer and it came out as a scrape. She pressed her palm to his cheek. It was damp. Too cool. Pastor Chris was already moving. He had that trained calm of a man who has been asked to hold other people's storms and pretend he doesn't feel the rain. He reached the bed, saw the way Daniel held his chest, and something old in his face slipped. He took his son's wrist, counting a drum that kept missing beats. "Car," his wife said, already dragging slippers onto bare feet. "I'll drive." "I will," he said. "Both," she said, because tonight wasn't for arguments. She grabbed a wrapper and a shawl and they lifted their son the way you lift a person you have carried many times and never like this. The road gave them space for once. He drove, hands tight at 10 and 2, while his wife spoke to God in a low steady stream, not bargaining, not performing, just laying each breath on the line and asking for the next one. Halfway there Daniel found a slice of voice. "Mom," he whispered. "I'm here." His eyes moved. He wanted to say another name and did not have to. She reached for his phone without being told and scrolled to the contact that had become prayer for him. The call rang twice. "Hello. Zainab," she said. "The hospital. Now." No more words. The line ended. The ER pulled them into its cold light, the sort that makes skin look like paper. A nurse whisked them to a bed. An oxygen mask appeared. Numbers started counting in a language that only doctors really speak. Daniel's mother stayed near his shoulder, fingers on his hair like she could thread strength in through the roots. Pastor Chris stood at the foot of the bed, hands clasped, head bowed, lips moving in a rhythm he'd taught others, now forcing himself to believe it could still change the ground under his feet. They stabilized him enough for a question or two. "Any allergies?" "No." "Any history?" "No." He tried to say he would be fine and the mask turned it into fog. A few minutes later the sliding doors opened and she was there, hair in a quick tie, sandals barely on, face open with fear and purpose. She moved to the bed and stopped when the nurse put up a palm. "Family only." The word hit the air and hung there, blunt and clumsy. Pastor Chris looked up. "Woman, what are you doing here?" "Out, I say. Maybe you might be cause of this evil. Love is not by force. Leave before I disgrace you," as he continued to open his mouth, already forming another rule. His wife saw it and cut across it with one look. "She stays." It was not a debate. It was a fact placed on a table. They stood in a small square, 4 people and a machine, each holding a corner of the room, the boy on the bed, the mother by his head, the father at his feet, the girl just outside the bed rail, fingers curled in on themselves like she was holding a hot coin. The next hour stretched. The pain grew teeth. Zainab turns to Pastor Chris and kneel down. She said, "Please sir, I beg in the name of God you serve, let take Daniel to my father. He can cure Daniel in an hour." She begging with tears in her eyes, "Hold their Daniel parent legs." Pastor Chris roars, "Over my dead body, I will never and ever take my son to an imam for treatment. I am a pastor. What do you expect people to say? My living God and the holy God will heal Daniel." In midst of such tense moments Daniel mummy knees to join Zainab, with tear in her eye. "Please my husband, let take Daniel to his father. I am beginning to scare, please, this is my only child, we serve the same God, Christianity and Islam are brothers relationship, please," as she continues to beg. Pastor Chris turned to his wife and said, "Woman, no way, never, it wouldn't happen. If the case get complicated we will take him to church, don't worry." Daniel chest hitched. The monitor hiccuped. A line jerked sideways and then settled and then stuttered. The doctor's voice sharpened. A nurse reached for the crash cart. The body went to war. The father's eyes refused to blink. The girl did not cry yet. She was saving the water for something she did not want to name. It ended with a sound that never sounds big enough for what it means. Someone turned the monitor down. Someone else looked for a sheet without looking at her face. The world did not stop. Not really. But in that corner of that room, time went thin. For a full breath no one moved. Then the mother broke. She went at her husband like the only bridge left was the one she could set on fire with her hands. She grabbed his shirt front, fist bunched high, and shook him like if she could rattle him hard enough she could shake the last minute out of the clock and put it back where it belonged. You killed my only son because of your religion. The sentence tore out raw. No filter. No polish. It ripped the quiet open. A nurse flinched. A security guard stepped forward and stopped. Pastor Chris did not defend himself. He tried to wrap his fingers around her wrists and failed because sorrow makes a body stronger than it has any right to be. The words hit him and didn't bounce. They went through and lodged. His mouth opened and found no scripture. His face learned a new shape, the look people call regret because there isn't a heavier word. It was all over him, had I known. In the quiet after the noise, when the machines had been silenced and the sheet pulled, a nurse touched the rail. You may say goodbye, she said, and moved aside. Pastor Chris placed his palm on his son's hair and spoke no sermon. He just said, "Forgive me," under his breath, the way a boy says a thing when he knows he can't take it back but says it anyway because not saying it would be worse. They left because leaving is what comes next, and the corridor felt miles long. At the end of it, in a little chapel with hard benches and a cross on the wall, Pastor Chris sat down and ran out of prayers. His wife stood beside him and pressed a hand to his back because skin still understands what words forget. The Imam arrived with his wife at a run, pulled by the phone call that needed no full sentences. He saw the faces. And he did not speak. He took his daughter by the hand and led her out. She followed like a person who cannot feel the floor. Back home the rooms had that waiting sound. The clock ticked like it had taken sides. She sat on the bed with the lamp on low and spread the small box of their days again, the evidence of ordinary love. She let the tears come because fighting them now would be another lie to carry. Inside her the argument that had started months ago tried to start again and then could not. Love or faith was never the right phrasing. She loved her religion. She loved Daniel. She had tried to be honest inside both truths. She had asked for a table and received 2 walls. She did not hate anyone. She did not have the energy for that kind of work. She set the box aside and stared at the ceiling till morning. At the spot she found paper and a pen. She sat and wrote in neat letters because handwriting habits are the last to die. My name is Zainab. I loved Daniel. I love God. These truths do not cancel each other. If you read this to prove a point, you will miss what I am trying to leave behind. People around the world, please stop using God as a stick. If mercy is real, use it. Bury me quietly. Do not argue with my name. She folded the paper and slid it under the picture frame on her table, the one where she and Daniel had their foreheads together. She stood on the mat and bowed and said nothing for a long time. When she finally spoke, it was so soft the books would have to lean in to hear. I tried, she said. I'm empty. She sat back on her heels. She looked at the small shelf where bottles were kept. She found the bottle, filled with a liquid poison herb in her hand and set it down beside her knee. She did not hurry. She was not acting out a scene for anyone. Her mother called her name once from the corridor. Zainab. The sound trailed into the room like a ribbon. No answer came back. Her mother turned the corner, saw her there, saw the bottle, saw the way her daughter's face had gone very calm, and her voice fell apart in the doorway. No. No, please. Zainab lifted the bottle. She looked at her mother and her mouth trembled and then steadied. I'm sorry, she said. Her mother crossed the room in 2 steps that felt like one and reached for the bottle. Fingers met fingers. For a second the world hung in that small grip. Then her mother pulled her hand back, caught between forcing and pleading, because you cannot wrestle a person you love out of a decision like this without tearing them again. Tears blurred everything. Please, she said. We will wait for your father. I can't carry this house of air anymore, Zainab whispered. Mummy, please forgive me. She drank. It went down like fire. Her body recoiled. Her eyes squeezed shut. Her mother grabbed her shoulders and called for the Imam with a voice that made the windows hum. He ran. He slid on the tile and caught himself on the doorframe. He saw the bottle. He saw his girl. The world narrowed to the size of her mouth and the breath that did not want to come. He lifted her, and they moved in a rush that knocked a prayer bead jar to the floor. Beads skittered away like tiny witnesses. The car started hard, then louder, then it went. The road opened and closed and opened. His wife held their daughter's face and called her full name over and over as if names were ropes you could throw across a fast river and pull someone back with. The same hospital. They took her, placed her on the hospital bed. She opened her eyes, fainted, and remembered the sweet moment she had with Daniel.
I thought this love was meant from heaven. Can't withhold this heartbreak. Can't withstand the soul pain. 'Cause my heart is aching. If and me. If and me, my love, you know. I thought this love was meant from heaven. Can't withhold this heartbreak. Can't withstand the soul pain. 'Cause my heart is aching.
After the remembering, they worked. Zainab is forever gone. Some stories are lessons, some are warnings, and some, like this, must never be forgotten. Thank you for following this story. What lessons do you learn from the story? I will love to read your comments in the comments section. Give this story a thumbs up and please subscribe to this channel if you have not done that. It is my prayer that this story reach out to those people that need it. I believe by share this story, I might be saving someone. Maybe 1 or 2, so I indulge you to share this story out. This is not fiction. Share to your brother, son, your friends, church, and everywhere until I bring another story your way. Bye.